This week, we're going to talk about the one thing, the only one thing you need to focus on to come up with a truly great name. So last week, we had talked about AI and how you use AI as a coach, not as your substitute. And I sort of left you hanging, with this question. What's the one thing to really focus on for that truly great name? So let me do a story. So our daughter was in high school and she wanted to help us with naming. We had a great project for her. It was a new kind of tomato. It was sort of like a cherry tomato, but it was grape tomato. It's longer and more oval than cherry tomato. Man, when you bit into this thing, it had this awesome, almost supernatural sweet taste. And so she loved them and she was super excited about, coming up with a name. And so she started thinking about things that were small and plump and juicy and sweet and red. And she came up with Cherubs initially and a lot of other stuff. And I think it might have been because she was taking a religious education class that I was teaching to high schoolers at the time. Yeah, Dad's teaching a religious education class. What can I say? I made her go. But then she came up with Cherubs, and she sort of liked Cherubs, right? When you think about Cherubs as those plump, sort of short, rosy-cheeked, so they have the red apples, not apples, but angels, and not angels, but tomatoes. And so this idea that this cherub could be more of a brand name for this new type of cherry-like tomato. So she thought about it for a while. It really worked. And the client liked it. And it ended up establishing a whole new category that didn't really exist at the time because grape tomatoes were so new. Some folks thought it was a cherry tomato. They didn't know what a cherub was. Like, oh my gosh, really? But there were a lot of people out there that did not know what a cherub was. But because it began with cher, and because it sort of looked like a cherry tomato, they thought it was a new kind of cherry tomato. And so the name really took off. And so what she did, AI didn't exist back when she named this thing. But what she did is, I think, what we all need to remember. You have to focus on the one thing that really matters, and that is being human. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Claude, you can use Grok, you can use whatever your favorite flavor of AI is. Do all the prompting, and you may come up with something like a cherub, you may not. But what you need to do at some point is turn the stupid AI off, shut down your computer, turn off your smartphone, maybe even turn off the lights, and just close your eyes and think about what kind of name is going to connect with my target. It's really going to resonate emotionally. And this is where I think AI is never going to be able to do as good a job as we people, as we human beings. AI doesn't have emotions. It just doesn't. It can maybe mimic emotions, but it can't learn emotions. It's just not part of the DNA AI has. But we have that. And I think those are the types of names that really work the best for almost any product that we've named in 40 years of doing this, or any company or any service or any nonprofit. So another story to illustrate this. So there was a guy, Mike Brown, and he was in his coffee shop, and it wasn't doing real well. As a matter of fact, it was going out of business, right? And he was the only employee because he had to let everybody else go. So he's sitting in his apartment, and he's drinking a Four Loko. He's got this koozie that his girlfriend gave him. And he noticed on the koozie there was this picture of this mean dog, which sort of was how he felt at the time. He was sort of angry that he put his blood, sweat, and tears into this coffee shop and wasn't doing really well. And he didn't know what to do. And he noticed underneath the logo, the picture of the mean dog, was a tagline, Death Wish. And that stopped him. Thought about that, right? Death Wish. Poison. Boy, is that edgy. Would that be a controversial name, a shocking name you flat just couldn't ignore? So he said, what do I have got to lose, right? So let's call it Death Wish Coffee. So Good Morning America found out about this and gave him a call. And they said, we won't come out and talk to you. And so they came out that afternoon, and the next morning on the Good Morning America show, they were talking about Death Wish Coffee, and he'd given them mugs. And so you could see the Death Wish Coffee mugs. The weatherman had one, everybody else. So his business just took off. As a matter of fact, he had so many orders come in, he had to recruit customers to help him fill the orders. And one customer was talking about how they were down in the basement and they had stacks of these orders. And normally, you try to fill an order in 3 to 4 days to stay on Amazon or to stay on eBay. And they were 3 to 4 weeks behind. They were so far behind that they got kicked off Amazon and off eBay for a while, because they thought they were a scam. You got all these orders coming in and you're not shipping out any product. Well, they stayed the course and, of course, made a very successful business out of it. And you go back to the brand and you go back to what it did. And it wasn't as safe as Cherubs, but both those names connected emotionally, right? They were names for humans. And they're the kind of names you think about once you get the backstory right. And you can't just do controversial or edgy or different for the sake of being just attention grabbing. That's dangerous. But if you have the right backstory, if you have the right connection, then you can come up with something that's truly awesome. And AI may help you get there, but I don't think AI is going to be that last final, nail in the success story. That what is that emotional connection? But you may also not feel comfortable, or you may not have the ability to sell that kind of name internally or to your backers if it's that way out, that different. And so I talked about the last episode, but I want to mention it again. You can test for names, and most of our competitors don't agree with this, but we've been doing this for a long time, quite successfully. What you can't do when you test for a name is ask the question, what do you think of the name? Because nobody thinks of a name. They react to a name. So the way we test names is we would show them, pictures of Death Wish and other coffee names on mugs on the screen. Just that. They see the name and the coffee mug. And maybe, hey, new kind of coffee. And we might ask them the question, which of these names would generate the most interest, get you to try it? That's not really what we're interested in. What we're interested in is which name does everyone react to almost immediately? And they pick it, right? Because that's how almost all names work. It's a subconscious hook. It's that emotional gut connection that grabs you. And then once you're grabbed, then you can tell the story, right? Then you can complete the sale. Then you've got them. And if it tastes good, whether it's a Cherub grape tomato or a Death Wish coffee with lots of caffeine or great taste, whatever it might be, then people want to talk about it. And then it spreads organically. So I want to leave that with you today. So the answer to the question is, the one thing you need to focus on is be human, right? Connect with other people as humans connect. And often that connection is not rational, it's more emotional. And next week, we're going to talk about trademark bullying and reverse trademark bullying. And if you don't know what that is, please stay tuned. And if you'd like to get more information about how we test for names, there's going to be a link at the bottom of the screen, or we'll put it in the show notes for those of you that are listening to the podcast. Just click on that, and that'll take you to the page on our website where we talk more about our System 1 and System 2 name testing methodology. Have a great rest of your week. See ya.